Welcome in. You are listening to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. No, please don't change the station. This actually is a Bergkamp Wonderland. I am Jason, also known as OJ, also known as Colonial Cannon, filling in for our absent host tonight. Gim wishes he could be here, but I'm sure he's chasing bums somewhere across in the West Indies trying to find whatever rum he drinks. So let's get past that and go right into our introductions. First up, our resident button monkey. Almost messed that up. Almost said butt monkey, Danny. Don't want to do that to you, although whatever gets your fancy. Our resident button monkey, Danny, the GFP.
Oh dear, yes, I do refer to people as butt monkeys when they annoy me. How you getting on with your first time of hosting?
So far, we're about at a Monaco performance. I'm hoping to raise that to a Crystal Palace performance by the end. And joining us from beautiful Wales is our very good friend and resident Santi lover and Santi hater, Jason Davis.
Hello. I'm not happy, move on.
Next up is our resident pirate and manager extraordinaire. It is your budget Jesus. His name is Kris Carpenter.
Good evening, Jace. Are you well, mate?
I am. It's a little chilly here. We had about 8 inches of snow last night. Last but never least, it's everybody's dream boy from down under. Yes, his hair looks like he's a member of One Direction, but don't hold that against him. It's Dominic Nuski. Dom, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Let's get this thing started because I'm not great at being comedic, as you just found out. And let's go ahead and go to Danny and get the latest roundup of Arsenal scores.
Right, we have 3 to catch up on. We have in the Under-18s League, we went to West Brom and we lost 2-1. We scored in the 4th minute, all looked shiny and lovely, ended up losing 2-1, turned to shit. Then the next game was the Under-18s again in the Youth Cup. We were 1-0 down after 7 minutes, then we scored an own goal, and then we come back to 2-1, then 3-1, and then we lost 3-2 at home to Shitty Crew. Well, I say Shitty Crew, they're better than we are. So there you go. And then the final one, good God, I don't even want to read this out. The Under-18s again went to play the N17 Scum, and we lost 4-1 with some bloke called Shayon Harrison, ended up getting a hat-trick, and there was 2 penalties in the game, and we were atrocious. So there you go, it's not just the first team falling apart.
That's very, very sad to hear. We do have some positive news, and for that I will go, again, to the head pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow, Budget Jesus, Kris. What's up with the latest Pirates result?
Well, something quite strange happened at the weekend, Jace. We won a game! Yes, we did. Yeah.
Don't believe it.
Incredible scenes. We turned up on a Sunday morning. It pissed and rained all week. We didn't actually expect the game to be on, but we got quite a young referee, so we bullied him into putting the game on, as you do. And just the unthinkable happened. We didn't just win. We smashed 15 past Tamar View. Yes, that's 15. 1-5. Jimmy Williams got 6. Nick Errington got 6. We got a penalty, which Michael Brown scored, and Sean Cross scored 2 goals, and they were particularly fun because we've been ribbing him all season about how he's never going to score and he couldn't score in a brothel and all that banter. And he put one away and got booked for celebrating, which just makes it even better. He scored, took his shirt off, and flung himself in a muddy puddle and got booked for it. So that was good. But we absolutely smashed them. Obviously, it was in no small part to the tactical genius of a manager that the Pirates have. He's a nice guy. That I should really look him up. He's quality. But we were excellent. We've got a difficult game to rebound straight into. We've got the first game of the Supplementary Cup on Sunday, away at Revelstoke Rangers. Their home ground is Butts Park. So insert innuendo joke there. But it was an epic victory. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Davis, who's mysteriously fallen off the call. We hope he might be back. This is good. But yeah, it's a special shout out to him because they said it couldn't happen, but we have won another game. We thoroughly deserved it, and it's been coming for a while. The only disappointment, of course, is that we didn't put 20 or 25 past them, because we should have done. But no, we were fantastic, and it's all uphill. Sorry, downhill from here. Well, uphill, downhill. Don't know. Either way, it's all on the up, and I have to say congratulations to the boys because they were all superb, and yeah, hopefully we can take on the momentum into this weekend.
I would like a rebuttal from an anti-pirate, Jason Davis. Now,
What do you mean anti-pirate?
you, the Pirates, 15-4. What have you to say? Are you all of a sudden Carpenter in, sir?
It's a shame they couldn't spread a few of those goals through other games, isn't it? Actually win a couple of
Oh, I'm
games.
telling you, busting their load all
Congratulations,
at
Kris. Well done.
once.
Got a win. Well done. Congratulations, mate.
There he is. He's been humbled, everybody. He's finally been humbled. He's been forced to give me some credit.
Minus 28.
Oh, there we go. Classless till the end. See,
He just knows that there's another game next week.
Yeah.
he does. Yeah,
I'll
he
have my
does.
day again. It's okay. You've beaten Team Arvu, who've got a goal difference of minus 95 and haven't won a game all season.
Can only beat what's in front of you, Jace.
Well, let's move on. It's the Carolina Railhawks, the team I work for. We start our preseason starting Monday, and our first game will be next Sunday. So those highlights will be coming to you if you want to check them out. They're in the second division of the U.S., just under MLS. Should have a good team, pretty competitive, got a lot of experience and good goal scorers coming. But let's get to the meat of why we're all here and why you're actually listening. Let's actually talk about the Arsenal, who we're going to start with the Palace game, boys, and not a pretty result. Excuse me, not a pretty game, but we really got the result that we wanted in the end. And Jason, since you have been absent and been so quiet so far, I think we'll go to you first and just get your general thoughts on our performance against Palace in that London derby.
It was okay, wasn't it? It started off well, got a penalty. Santi nailed it. Fair play to him. He's great from the spot. The Giroud rebound, fantastic. Their pace is a bit of a worry, but they didn't make anything of it. Up until the last 5 minutes, we were in control. Didn't feel it was that bad. They get a goal. All of a sudden, we kind of fall apart. Nearly concede a second. It was what it was. It's a good 3 points, but that's about it.
Yeah, we had some discussion though about that penalty, and you said at the time that you have to give the penalty no matter what. And is that still something after obviously replays again? And I agree with you on that, but a lot of people were saying that it should have been given.
Let's get something straight, okay? People are in motion. It's on the very edge of the box, okay? You've got to give the attacker the advantage, okay? The referees do not have instant replay. They cannot stop a bit of play wherever they want to stop it. It's bullshit to think that they can get those decisions 100% right every single time. We're on the wrong end of too many of those, and we're on the right end of it this time. I don't know why people are moaning. It's pathetic. Just get on with it.
Yeah, I got a quick little question on this. Someone might know. I agree with you, Jace. I think that, when you get one, you take it, because there's always a penalty shout that you don't get, that, you complain that you didn't get, that was a dead set. So you got to take these. But someone, I can't remember where, someone on Twitter, I'm sure they'll put their hand up, said something about that if a foul starts outside the box but continues inside, the ref can actually give what he sees to be, like the whatever he wants to give. If the foul sort of continues inside the box, he can go, well, that's a penalty because it was continuing inside. So is that a thing, or is people making shit up, or is the rule wherever the foul start or contact begins, or whatever the rule is?
How can they tell half the time?
With that incident, you're right. I mean, look, any ref's going to give that. That looked dead set, like it was inside the area. There's nothing about. But is there so if someone starts a foul just outside the box but continues it in because it's a bit of a cynical one like that, can a referee still point to the spot by the letter of the law? That is,
I don't know.
Because that would be the other argument, wouldn't it? If someone says, well, it started outside, then we could all just turn around and go, yeah, but that doesn't mean shit. The foul continued inside, so he can get a penalty.
I don't care anyway. Not being funny. We are going to have these throughout the season where they go against us. So why?
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely don't know why people moan about it. I don't. It's beyond me. We had a penalty. Deserved. Who cares?
Kris, let's talk about Danny Welbeck real quick, and he seemed to have some flashes during that game. And do you think he's still coming back from injury a little bit? He's had a few games back now, and we're starting to see his name on the selection sheet a little bit more. Won the penalty, but seems to want to cut inside a lot, especially from wide positions. Your thoughts on him winning that penalty, and then just his general play in the Palace game?
I like him. I really do. I think he's I mean, we were all here when we signed him, and it was all doom and gloom. And oh God, is that all we can get these days? But no, I think he's a hard working player. His tracking back is excellent. He adds something for the side going forward. You're right, he does like to cut inside, but then we bought him knowing that he wanted to play through the middle. So what do you expect when you play him wide? He is going to come inside. But his industry and his work rate is very, very useful to the side. I think there's a reason that he's being preferred over Theo Walcott at the moment, and that obviously we'll probably come on to more of that later on. But no, I'm a big fan. I think you can always judge a player by sort of how the team he's left react when he leaves. And I know not a lot of United fans were very upset when he left, not just because he was sort of quote one of their own. I hate that saying for obvious reasons, but he was a player they rated and saw a big future. And I think that's the other thing to remember. He's still fairly young. I think he 23, 24. I think his best years will be ahead of him, and he's quite adaptable to any position across the wide side. And okay, whether it was or wasn't a penalty, for the record, I thought the kind of like Dom said, okay, yeah, the initial contact is outside the box, but the second contact, arguably the one that actually brings him down, is inside. So you can have an argument either way, but it was given. And Christ, we've had enough of those against us over the years. So his pace will frighten anyone, and he's doing a good job. And I personally think at the moment we're a better side with him on one of those flanks than when he's not there.
Danny, let's switch our focus to another striker here. And Olivier Giroud's been really one of the better players since coming back from his injury that he suffered against Everton. Second game of the season, he's come back in. He's only got 11 appearances overall, but 8 goals and 2 assists. And you saw him floating into some dangerous spots against Palace, was able to get the goal by being in great position. Then there were some times when he wasn't in position and was complaining that he never got the pass. I know Jason pointed that out on the radio show this last weekend, but talk about him and what his influence on this team and the constant argument, can we win the league with him, or do we have to go and get somebody better?
This is why we need 2 world-class strikers, because I know he's scored 8 goals since he's come back. He scored a couple against Newcastle, who are rubbish, and he got one against the Man City, which is a really good, tough game to score in. 1 against an easy win over Villa. A couple against Championship side Middlesbrough, and then 1 against Palace. They're not exactly been world-class teams that he's been playing against. But I was just thinking when you were saying about playing the other striker, ever since Welbeck has come back into the team, we've lost to Spurs. We played shit against Leicester, shit against Middlesbrough, shit against Palace, and lost to Monaco. I'm just thinking, is it because he's disrupted the team? Sanchez hasn't scored in any of the last 4 to 5 games that he's played in, and I think bringing in Welbeck straight away, it's like you're fit, right, straight back in the team, when any other player would have had a few games as a sub. I know one of those last 5 games he didn't play, and I can't remember which one it was. I was looking at them earlier. But yeah, we do need a player of maybe even better quality than what Giroud is, and because we're going to be playing Welbeck out wide, covering all the positions. He's going to be like the utility forward. So yeah, we definitely do need someone, because it proved the other night against Monaco and even against Palace that Giroud just really wasn't on his game.
Why do you think it is that right now Wenger prefers Welbeck over Walcott? Let's go ahead and get into that. Why?
You just get the feeling with Walcott that his heart isn't really in it as much as it should be. That he doesn't even believe in his own ability to score goals, to do what the team need him to do. I know when he come back, he had 2 or 3 goals in his first 2 or 3 games. I'm just looking at it now. He got 1 against Brighton, 1 against Villa, and 1 against Leicester. So in all those games, he's got 3 goals, but none of them were in match-winning. Were they? The 1 against Leicester. Can't remember whether. Yeah, he got the second goal in. We were 1-0 up by the time he got the goal. Everyone has this feeling about Theo. You really, really want him to do really, really well, but sometimes it's I don't know. It's just so hard to try and figure out what is up with him. Why isn't he blossoming to his full capability, which is what we all want to see, but he just doesn't seem to be doing it. Every now and then, like the volley when he scored against who did he score the volley against? Was it Brighton in the FA Cup? And then you thought, yeah, he's back in and he's getting shots on target. He's 26 next month, and he's had that one season where he scored 22 goals all competitions, something like that, 23 goals, and that has really been the only decent seasons he's had, and a lot of those goals were in the League Cup. I'm just looking now, 14 goals in 32 Premier League games, and he's not. I know he's had injuries, he's been unlucky with form and stuff, but he's not really pushed on, and it's going to come to the point. He's coming up for a new contract as well. I ask myself, does he really believe in himself as much as we want to believe in him?
if you go back to just before his big injury, he was, pulling up trees. He was slotting him in left, right and centre, and he was doing really, really well. The thing that I think Theo doesn't do him any favours when it comes to the team at the moment is the manager's all about balance. Whether you like it or not, he won't play two lightweight, tricky wingers at the same time. He always prefers to play a midfielder out on one side, or a sort of a bigger sort of body. That's why Welbeck's been getting the nod. Last season, Cazorla was playing ahead of Podolski because if Theo was out on the right, or whoever was playing out on the right, you go back a little bit further than that, and that we've had Ramsey and Jack Wilshere have time out on the wing. So he always likes to have at least one sort of midfieldish type player out on one of those sides because he doesn't like having an unbalanced side. If you look at the right-hand side at the moment, if you play Theo on the right-hand side, back behind him, he's only got Hector Bellerin. Now, he's a young player and he needs a little bit more protection than what Theo's going to offer. I think that if we had Debuchy fit, we'd see Theo out on the right. He'd be a lot more comfortable playing Theo, knowing that he's not going to give him as much defensive cover, but being a little bit more confident in Debuchy as a defender than perhaps having teams overload that side and attack Bellerin. So he's probably a little bit of a victim of the fact that Debuchy or the experienced right back hasn't been there. And I think that once Debuchy's back again, or once Theo might get a rocket up his clacker to do a little bit more defensive work, maybe he'll start to see a little bit more game time. But he's a little bit of the Podolskis for me at the moment, where unless he starts doing a little bit more for the team when we don't have possession, he's just not going to find himself getting game time.
Chase, do you agree with that, and do you think that he's on the list of players that if we could get rid of would be one of the first to go?
No, I don't think he could go. It's all going to depend on the contract negotiations, isn't it? He's been out for a year. He's not contributed to the team in that time. The club have stood by him, like we've stood by other players in the past. All depends what he demands of this contract. If he's going to go Billy Big Bollocks and want a fortune of a pay rise, then he can go. He's not exactly contributed. We haven't missed him that much. We've kicked on. That's it. That other players will come through. He's got to start tracking back and making an effort. All too often, he'll come back, not even attempt to put a challenge in, and let himself down. He needs to start playing to his potential. People will point out in the season before Bale went to Real Madrid that their stats are almost identical. But the difference was Bale was a match winner. Theo wasn't. You're not going to rely on Theo in a clutch. You just don't. He's not your go-to guy, and he's got the talent to do it. If he gets the self-belief and the arrogance, then maybe he's going to be worth it. But he is 26 now. He's no spring chicken. He's not all young Theo. He's 26. He's at the prime of his career. He's had a long injury. It's time for him to start proving himself. But I wouldn't want to see him go. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, the good thing about the Palace game, again, a little nasty on the field. We were able to get the result, put us third in the league, helped out by some great results with United going down and Southampton. But towards the end of that game, it got a little hairy defensively. What is it, or what was it? Do you think that our mentality changed, or did Crystal Palace, who you got to give them credit because I think they really came to play that day. Do you think just towards the end of the game we started to sort of say we had this wrapped up until we let that goal in, and then we sort of had the clinch factor and really hammered down and tried to lock in, and it was still sort of helter skelter there towards the end. What was with that, and do you think that had any lead over into this Monaco game? And Kris, I'll go with you for that.
I think the mentality it very much was a shut-up shop. I mean, once we got 2-0 up, it was let's make no bones about it. We were 2-0 up against the run of play. Anybody that watches that game has got to accept that. We didn't really do a lot and found ourselves 2-0 up. And credit to Palace, I think they probably were deserving of a point, which I'm glad they didn't get it. but that was probably the position they were in. So when we were 2-0 up, we sort of 15-20. I think Balassi coming on was a massive sort of turning point in the game because he's very unpredictable, but he offers raw, genuine pace and a complete, said it there already, unpredictability. And when you're trying to defend against a player like that, I mean, you don't know whether your ass is punch drunk or counter sunk. You kind of just try and stop the cross. And the two things we didn't do when he crossed the ball in was stop it. And I thought the Gabriel introduction was, I totally understood why. I think the idea was to go to three centre halves, but you saw the players kind of pointing and looking at each other and going, I'm not really sure what we're doing here. And obviously at a level I manage at is extremely low, but it's a similar thing that if you send a substitute on, you need to have very clear instructions what that substitute is to do. And we're sending on a guy who doesn't speak English. So I just wonder how sort of prepared the other centre backs were to go to 3 at the back, which is clearly what we decided to do. Well, 5 at the back with the full backs. So in a weird way, that kind of hindered us, but putting the extra centre back on. And naturally, we invited them onto us. They got the goal, and one thing was for sure is that if there was another 10 minutes of that game, I think we probably would have been sat here now going, well, how did we throw away a 2-0 up to draw 2-2, because they were pushing, and I thought we were quite lucky, really, to hang on to the 2-1. So it was a bit of a strange move. I understand why we did it, but I'm more in favour of keeping things as they are and trying to hit on the break to get a third goal than shutting up shop at 2-1, because, we're not the best at seeing out a game when in front, let's be honest, and we're especially not very good at it when we concede. So no, I'm more in favour of the opposite style of attacking the game and trying to kill it off rather than sitting on what you've got.
And that will wrap up Palace. Let's shift our focus now, fellas, to the Monaco game. Just an abysmal game, stale, stagnant performance. Before the game, Arsenal were advertising these Arsene Wenger like table toppers. And they were, saying, tweet your table topper pictures, whenever you get here that we're in the program. I think we used the table toppers as defense because it was atrocious. Why do we seem to, and I'll go with Dom on this first. What is it with European first legs that we're just seem to be terrible at? Just the last 4 or 5 years, we just haven't shown up. Why do you think that is?
Oh, good question. I think if anyone could pinpoint the actual answer to that, then that information would be quite valuable, because you can't say that the players are in the change rooms before the game not prepared. You can't say that they haven't been spoken to about what the expectation is of the game. I mean, the whole club as a whole, you win together, you lose together. There's not one particular player, there's not one particular person that you can sit there and point fingers at, in my opinion, when it comes to not only just losing, but victory as well. So, look, for whatever reason, whatever approach has been going on, whether it's the players, the playing group, opposition teams coming to our place, it'd be interesting to see what would happen if we had an away leg first, to see how we'd approach it. But for some reason, you're right, it just seems to be Groundhog Day. And the disappointing thing is that maybe the players had some of the same mindset going into it as what some of the fans did, where they thought, oh, we've drawn Monaco, that's that done. Again, that's a stupid thing to say, because they're professional footballers. They know better. They know that every single game, especially at that level, is going to be difficult. Maybe, I don't know if it's an experience thing or not, to go into the first leg of a Champions League game and to approach it a certain way and to not panic at certain stages of the game. But for some reason, players shat the nest, didn't they?
Jason, what your thoughts sort of on the game overall? As I know you've probably got a bunch of nice, calm words to say about our performance and from the team from front to back. What were your thoughts?
It was pathetic. 1-14, everyone took the pitch. We started off quite brightly. Cazorla came into the box, one-on-one with the keeper, and he squared it to Giroud, who's got a man centre-half trying to get back and mark him. I don't understand why he didn't have a crack at goal there. He's one-on-one with the keeper. I know the angle's not great, but you got a chance to test the keeper. And after that, we kind of fell apart. And they were good, to be fair, okay? They weren't great. Yeah. They weren't great. We gave the ball away sloppily all over the park. We didn't press high enough, well enough. We looked shaky in defence. Bellerin and Gibbs had nightmares, as did Cos, and every single one of those players had a nightmare. There's nobody who comes out of that with any credit. The first goal, it was harsh on Espina to blame him on that, but he seemed to go early for the shot. I don't know. And then he's caught flat-footed and he can't get back. But he sort of half gave up halfway through the motion. But from midfield up top, we just did not close them down. We were poor. Coquelin, from being a defensive midfielder, I don't know where he was. He was on walkabout. What was going on? Other than Ox's temperament in taking the goal, he took that beautifully. We were just rubbish. You can see Gibbs jogging back in defence. He's there for his pace. He's chosen because they have pacey wingers. Why is he jogging back? It was a shambles. These guys are experienced players. The majority of them, I think they're all international players, other than Bellerin on the pitch. There's caps galore. People talking that Santi or Cos a leader. Nobody showed it last night. Nobody showed it. We were awful. And they've got enough experience. They've been to these places before, you know. Last year it was Bayern. The last couple of years it's been Bayern. And, you know, it's been an individual's error that's cost us. Or just great play by the other team. Monaco didn't have to try too hard. And in front of goal, well, it was pathetic. We call it one of those nights, I don't know, but we've seen something similar at Stoke this year. We weren't great at Tottenham. At the end of the Palace game, should have sent warning signs through this squad. It was shameful.
Kris, cheer me up, please. Anything positive?
Didn't rain, did it? No, don't think it rained.
No.
I mean, there's not a lot to be positive, Jace, to be honest. I mean, I think probably one of the worst parts about last night was that I wasn't angry. I wasn't screaming and raging at games that I have previously this season. I sat there and just sort of shook my head and went, well, that was predictable. And it was. And I think that's the biggest detriment you can level at the side. The attitude of the players struck me as exactly what I feared. And I know a lot of people probably think I'm going to sit here and say I told you so. I'm not going to say that. What I will say is, as Dom also said, when this draw was made, I never once thought that we were going to do this 3-0, 4-0, that so many of our fans, in fairness, just the fans, it wasn't any of the players, but all the fans saying, oh, this is the best draw in the world and brilliant, you know.
Sorry, Kris. The players took it that way. The way they approached that match, they did think they were going to win 3 or 4-0. Yeah. You look at Monaco. They've hardly set the fucking world alight this year. They're not even averaging a goal a game. Okay? No, but they've only scored 4 goals in the group stages.
No, but okay? I agree. But
we know they're not a bad side, but you know, to score 3 against us in that manner, you know, these guys have taken that pitch thinking, oh, not a problem. We'll do these guys.
What's the one thing that Arsenal struggle to play against when they're at home, or in fact home or away? What's the one style of play they struggle? It's teams that come behind the ball, disciplined, and take the chances they get. They are the sort of games we struggle in. And unfortunately, you know, you could talk about tactics and all this. Ultimately, it comes down to game management, to how you approach the game, to having the right frame of mind. And it struck me that last night we turned up for 7 minutes and went, oh, well, we've tried. We'll just hold out. And something else that really frustrated me, which you may well touch on, so apologies if I'm jumping ahead, but when we got the goal back, I was livid. And as I say, I was quite calm. But the one thing that got me really angry was seeing those players race into the net to grab the ball. I mean, this is just kamikaze. This is basic. This is a 2-legged tie. We get a goal back. You know, 2-1. I'm confident we go through. 100% confident. And what do? We race to the goal. We grab the ball. Okay, yeah, fine. The crowd are up. The excitement's up. But these are professional footballers. These are athletes paid. You know, in the top, this is the top competition at club level. Why is somebody not getting hold of those players and go, no, leave the ball in the net, take your time, get set up, 4 men behind the ball, have, 2 lines of 4, we take 2-1. You know, if we get another chance at stoppage time, we're able to get 2-2, brilliant. But why on earth are we charging up the pitch like the bloody charge of the Light Brigade, trying to get 2-2? It was just ridiculous, particularly when Monaco brought on, a player I knew a bit about. Ferreira Carrasco is lightning. And okay, yeah, he didn't have a lot of opposition as he ran through, but that was a tidy finish. That was a good goal. But we
should have done better with that. He should have done better with that.
I disagree.
I'm sorry. He should have done better with that. He's got his hand to it, okay? Ospina did not have a good game. Yeah, he was not great.
Agree to disagree on that one. I don't think... I saw a lot of people saying, oh, Szczesny would have saved that. And I think it's a very easy thing to say. I just think that, you're right, he got his hands to it, but the shot was a good one. He couldn't have put that any closer to the post if he tried. What I would say, though, is, I felt for Oxlade-Chamberlain. I did, because it all sort of... It's almost like his world fell in around him. But it's not just him that's to blame. The whole team need to look at themselves there and go, why were they all racing up the pitch to try and get this equalising goal? And also the other thing with the one thing I will levy at the Ox is this guy. He's quick, he's pacey, and if you see it when he loses the ball, he kind of gives up. He doesn't track, and I think he's a fresh player who's come on the pitch. If he chases Ferreira Carrasco back, he pushes him wide. That goal doesn't happen. If you look at the game as a whole, very few positives. I will stick up for Olivier Giroud. I think he did have one of those nights, but I think far too many people took to social media today. Oh, he's shit. Oh, he's shit. Oh, he's shit. Have a day off. This is a guy that is carried us on his back several times in his Arsenal career. I think he's finally started to become the 8 out of 10 striker that we knew he could be when he joined the club. I don't think Olivier Giroud is never going to be a 30 goal a season striker. But something that makes me laugh is I saw a lot of people all over Twitter today. Oh, we need to go balls out in the summer and get Cavani. Anyone that's watched Edinson Cavani this season for PSG, he misses more than Giroud does. So, there are very few strikers in the world game that are going to take every chance. Or, I think Alan Davis said it on their pod today, where he was saying that you don't get an Ian Wright every day of the week. You don't get a Sergio Aguero, a Luis Suarez, a Messi, a Ronaldo. These guys are not readily available. So for us, or some of our fans, and let's say I'm not labelling everyone, but for some of our fans to go, oh, well, it's all on Giroud, he's this, he's that. I mean, I think that's a very, very easy thing to say. Welbeck, was guilty of missing a chance as well. To levy it all at Giroud, I just think from start to finish, it was poor. Obviously, Per Mertesacker has also got to hold his hands up, I think, for one, certainly one, maybe two of the goals, and particularly for the first goal.
Guys, let's be honest. Him and Coswork as an unit, the fullbacks were fucking atrocious.
They were. Gibbs was
they
terrible.
Were fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
Okay?
If anyone wants to know why Kieran Gibbs has been left out the side, last night was a pure event. It was just glaringly obvious.
I'd rather see natural Monreal struggle with pace.
Yeah, so would I. And pace. I mean, Monaco had a right back at right midfield. Okay, yeah, they were pacey, but if we're taking the game to them, that really shouldn't be that much of an issue. The way that Mertesacker went to, he's got previous with the Anfield game and whatever you think of that. But the one thing that you don't do, and Jace, you'll know this from watching your guys, I would have thought that the one thing you don't do when you're defending a long-range shot is turn your back, because if that ball hits you, as it did last night, hits Mertesacker, it's an unnatural place to hit him. The ball spins at an awkward angle. Why not stick your hand up, take a booking, or better still, stick your head in front of it? Because like Jay said, I don't think you can blame Ospina. Okay, yes, he does go early, but he's got to anticipate that shot. And if you look at the shot from Kondogbia, it's straight down the middle. But Mertesacker makes a very half-hearted effort at it, turns his back, and it ends up in the net. I mean,
but again, guys, where's the DM in all this? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say, Jay. Spot on. Keep going.
I'm sorry. Where the fuck is Cochran in all this? You see all these accounts on Twitter, cock blocked. Oh, he's this, he's that. He was fucking rubbish. Okay.
I think that's a bit harsh.
Everybody was terrible. Jay, you're spot on, because if you look at who scored their goal, it was their defensive midfielder in a position where our defensive midfielder should have been.
Yeah.
You think, hang on, that's not quite right.
Do you see where he is, Don, when that goal's hit there?
Didn't have to do fuck all, okay? No. That's all we gave the ball away cheaply. We didn't close any of them down, okay? All three goals, okay, you can put them down to our own mistakes. They didn't have to work that hard. They did not have to work that hard. Santi as the link man just wasn't good enough for the night. Okay, just none of them were good enough.
No. It was a team performance. I mean, you can't you single anybody out. You may as well, like you said earlier, Jace. I don't have too much to say about the performance, but what I will say is that it should have been a 0-0, because you're gonna have those days in front of goal where you create some good chances and you fluff one, or it gets a little deflection before you get your foot on it, or Walcott's ass gets in the way of Welbeck's chance, or, for Giroud to miss a couple of the chances that he got. Before the game, we've all been waxing lyrically over the guy about how good he's been recently. One 90-minute performance doesn't all of a sudden turn him into a shit striker. The guy's still good, and any other day he'd bury 3 of those chances. But it does happen sometimes in front of goal where, for whatever reason, it's a game of inches. It really is a game of inches. If he hits one of those on his head just slightly differently, it goes in. If Welbeck hits it a smidge higher, it goes over Walcott into the net. But that happens in front of goal. Where we fucked up massively is letting them just waltz into areas to score goals. And that's exactly what Kondogbia did for their first goal. I don't really... the blame game's something that's just a little bit too ridiculous to me, because you can start at Ospina and then you can go to Mertesacker. Then you can go, where was the defensive midfielder? You can just keep rewinding as far as whoever gave the ball away in the first place to, like, it depends how far you want to go back, because hindsight's a wonderful thing. But it was just a constant theme of the night that how the hell does a defensive midfielder waltz into a space where the only person between him and goal happens to be a centre-back? You don't let that situation happen in the first place. If that was one of their attacking midfielders or strikers, it's a little bit different. But Kondogbia was their deepest lying midfielder, and he's just walked into a position where he looks up and goes... You could tell that he kind of had a little bit of time to think, should I shoot? Why have I got so much space? All right, I'll put my foot through it and see what happens. And if you do that, you're going to have those situations maybe 2 times a year where it comes off someone's left testicle and deflects in, like Kieran Gibbs' goal against... the own goal against United, and then that one with Mertesacker, where it does happen, but at the same time, you shouldn't let that guy get that shot off from there. That was just criminal.
Sorry, there was no pressure on any of their shots.
That's what I mean. They just waltzed into areas and were able to score pretty easily.
At what point, okay, they're experienced players on the pitch. At what point aren't they turning around and saying, right, let's just stop, let's just calm down? Where are the leaders here? Because I at the beginning of the season, I thought Mertesacker was a leader. I'm sadly mistaken. Koscielny, no. Ospina's got 40 caps. The free kick they took at the end, that's going loose in the box again. Thankfully, he collected it. There was no calming influence there whatsoever. And as for it is. Giroud's had a bad night. Okay, we can't make any bones about it. The header he should have buried. He should have buried that every day of the week. The open goal he basically missed. I just can't understand it. Welbeck, if he wants to play up front for the Arsenal, and this applies to both of them, they've got to bury those chances. That's a clutch game yesterday, and we've missed too many opportunities. We've created enough chances to beat them, no problem. We've created enough quality chances, and we haven't done it. But when they're at 3 goals, we've done nothing to close them down. We've been caught with our pants down. I don't mind Per making that challenge where he did was it the second goal?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I do. I have an issue with that.
I don't mind it. He hasn't got the pace to get back. The guy's going to run past him. I don't mind him making that. Okay, but where is your defensive midfielder who's supposed to be covering? Where is your...
Is the right back?
Yes, where's your lightning quick right back? Where are these people? Where is the link man, Santi Cazorla? Because that's the job. That's the job he's asked to do on that night. And they're nowhere. And they're fucking nowhere. And that's my rant over, sorry.
So, one of the players who I know was getting some shtick from Gary Neville during the match was in midfield. Obviously, Ozil. Danny,
yes.
I hear you have some Ozil watch for us tonight before we get into a great discussion here about body language. What was our good friend Mesut up to last night?
Well, he got a rating of 6.1. Which is, apart from Giroud, who got 5.6, was the lowest our team got. Oh, Ospina got a 6. Oh, Rosicky got a 5.9, but it was a sub. Yeah, 85% pass accuracy, which, that's what he does. He's a good passer. 82 touches, 1 dribble, no aerials won, no fouls, 0 shots, 1 tackle, and a rating of 6.1. It was just terrible. And then a few other little things that I've been looking at. Before this run started, we had 1 loss in 11 games. We had 5 clean sheets in the last 6. As soon as Welbeck and Ozil come back into the team, and Wenger starts to drop Monreal, which he took Monreal off early against Palace, and he dropped him for yesterday's game. Those 5 games have all been average to poor. I mean, apart from the Middlesbrough one, which you probably would say was an average result. And Sanchez hasn't scored in any of them. And Ospina has now let in 7 goals in the last 4 games. A few stats for you there that I've dug up. Hopefully they're all right. If they're not right, I didn't do it.
So
this is the thing, though, with that, Danny, is that you're talking about since he's changed the team around, then yet when someone gets injured, we don't change the team around enough.
Yeah, it's
So
true. It is very true. But
you got to have a squad. You've got to utilise your squad, and you've just got to hope that you've got a system in place that someone can come out and, like Gibbs should be able to come in, fill into that left back spot, and you shouldn't even notice that Monreal's not there. That's the whole purpose of having two quality players in each position. I think that the thing, you're going to have times where you have good form, bad form. It does happen, but too often you see this. A big pressure game, a high profile game, we turn up and we don't perform. And that's the worrying thing, that so many times over the last couple of years, bar the Man City away game, you might think that I'm being really sort of a glass half empty when I say this, but that's why I've got a feeling that we'll go to Man United, we'll play them off the pitch for 90 minutes, we'll get done 1-0.
Yeah,
because that's just what we do. And there's not been enough. Yeah, there's not been enough evidence on the contrary for me to feel any other way other than that. If the Man City game was the rule, not the exception to the rule, I'd be going to Man United thinking, yep, we're in for a show here. I think we're a better side than they are. I honestly
Definitely,
think, objectively on paper, we're a better unit than they are, and yet we'll turn up and, someone will rebound in off their testicle, off their eyeball. Yeah. It'll hit a Spina in the nose, break his nose. He'll be out for 3 weeks and he'll dribble over the line in the 95th minute.
Yeah, but Dom, last night it wasn't a case of it going in off somebody's testicle. They collapsed. Gibbs,
yeah. That's what I mean, though, Jace. It's another high pressure game, and they were not up to the task.
Yeah, but it's not even that they weren't up to the task. Gibbs is an England international. I can understand why he was picked for that game because of his pace. Okay.
Yeah, he should have been up to the task, mate. Yeah, that's exactly what you should be able to have a situation where you don't go, oh well, the manager's fault for changing the team around. It's like, well, that's exactly what we need. We've got lots of games coming up. We need to be able to rotate these players through. And you're exactly right. Kieran Gibbs should be more than capable of going into that side and not putting in a shit performance like he did. And especially when you're bringing in guys that are basically fighting for a first team place. He's second choice at the moment. He should be going out there playing a damn sight better and showing a lot more than what he did. That's the disappointing thing, is that you get a go, the manager gives you your chance in a big profile game, and you turn up and you do that. That's the disappointing thing for me.
Still fucking angry.
So, Dom, I'm going to go exactly against what you just said. Let's play the blame game. People saying, and we're not going to get into the debate of Wenger in, Wenger out, because it doesn't matter. He's going to be here till the end of the season, so to debate it on here right now would be futile. The issue is who deserves what level of blame, if anybody? Because most people say, oh, it should be on the players. Oh, this is on Stan Kroenke. It's an institutional issue. Who can we look to hopefully be the leader, not just on the field, but in the organization, to say that the performances need to change and there needs to be a retooling of maybe how we approach some of these games? Who should that be? Danny, I'll go to you. Should Kroenke be doing something? Should Gazidis be saying something? Who is there that can right this ship?
I don't think anybody is there. That's the problem. You've got Wenger, who is in charge of absolutely everything, because Kroenke doesn't give a shit. He doesn't watch the games. He has no interest in the club at all whatsoever. All he wants is top four, because next season we're getting 50. Whoever's in the Champions League gets 50 million quid if you get to the group stages. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about the League Cup, the FA Cup, top four. Don't even really overly care about the Champions League. Everybody knows we probably won't win it. I know Chelsea won it a few years ago when nobody thought they would. But if you've got someone at the top, leadership comes from the top, and if there is nobody there saying to Wenger, do it like David Dean, would David Dean have put up with all of this lot? He'd have put his arm around Wenger and said, right, this is what we need, tell me what you need, and this is what we're going to try and do together. And as for on the pitch, the reason why Monreal and Chambers were dropped is because we wanted a little bit of pace down the wings with Gibbs and Bellerin. Yeah, so if you're going to have two pacey wing fullbacks almost playing in a kind of wing back position, your two centre backs stay back. You don't have Mertesacker, who we all know. Only Berbatov is the only player who turns slower than Mertesacker, and Berbatov scored last night. What was Mertesacker doing the wrong side of the halfway line. If he has made that tackle, and everybody knows, if he doesn't make that tackle or foul the player or bring him down, like I think one of you's already said, if you don't do that, that player is gone. And you saw poor old Bellerin running from the right wing down to the middle of the pitch, chasing after the player when they were going to make it. Was it 2-0? That point there, Bellingham's breathing through his eyes. Mertesacker obviously realised there's no point me running back. I'm not going to catch the bloke. If you can't catch him, don't put yourself in a position where you can't catch up with people. Either take the bloke out, take the yellow card, or don't put yourself there. But he didn't. He's too far forward. He had a touch of the Alex songs, and it winds me up and drives me nuts. If you're playing pacey wingers, as your fullbacks as almost wingers, then keep your two centre backs in your own bloody half.
But Danny,
No,
sorry, Dan, I get what you're saying, okay?
Yeah.
But the bottom line in this game is we've had 14 attempts, okay, a goal.
Yeah, no,
only 4 of them have got on target, okay? We created enough chances to win this game, hands down.
Definitely.
No fucking problem, okay?
And we had 8 corners to their 1.
Yeah, we haven't been caught offside once, right? No, not offside once. 8 corners.
Oh yeah, 0 offsides to their 5.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're playing deep. We kind of know that, but it just shows how static we are. Our movement, every fucker wants the ball to feet, right? Our movement's not good enough, right? But we've created enough chances to win that game last night, and ultimately, as Kris said earlier on, Olivier Giroud hasn't become a bad player overnight. He's had one of those nights. But if you want to play for the Arsenal, you cannot afford to have one of those nights on Champions League fucking quarter-final night.
Yeah, but I mean, we did have a bit of bad luck. You see the look on Welbeck's face when the goalie managed, whilst laying on the floor, to save the shot.
No,
You can't. Huh?
It hit Walcott. But
I thought he hit the goalie.
No, it hit Walcott.
Oh, that's why he looks so. That's why he
The
looks
thing
so
is,
pissed off.
Jace, the thing is,
that's an England striker. That's an England striker. He should be finishing the fucking ball.
That doesn't say much.
The argument I think Kris that was talking about beforehand as well, sorry guys, is that it should have been 0-0. Yes, you're going to have those shitty nights in front of goal, but it's over 2 legs. This is a 2-leg tie. You go, you know what, wasn't our night in front of goal, but guess what, we created a heap. On another night we might have won 3-0. Let's go, regroup, 0-0, go away to Monaco, see if we can get a 1-1 draw and go through, or a 2-2 draw, or even a win, and we go through. You don't go and get so naive that, okay, when it's not our night in front of goal, let's just be a little bit patient, sit back. If we get an opportunity late, we'll take it. But 0-0's not the end of the world.
Not one player in that park showed any nous.
Even 1-0, even 1-0 is not the worst result in the world. If you're 1-0 down and and you come from behind, then just saying what you were saying, Jace. Just touching on the blame game thing. I'll slightly I agree with your point, Danny. With the excuse me, the leadership comes from the top. I totally agree with that, and I totally understand what you're saying. And I'm 100% with you that I think that the Kroenke is blatantly in it for money, and that is clear. What I would say though is if you look at our current squad, and the game is not played on paper, we all know that. But if you look at that current squad, I think our current squad is better than Manchester City's. I don't think it's quite as good as Chelsea's. I think it's massively better than Man United's. I think it blows Liverpool's out of the water, and we won't even touch on that lot down the road. Now, with that being said, it doesn't matter if Sam Ferrian and his merry men of dwarfs manage the club and they pump in 84 million a minute. That doesn't change. These players are all good. They all should be good enough to compete in every competition we go into. And obviously, yes, we're going to get the odd freak result. I mean, look at Chelsea's money and they went out to Bradford in the Cup. So it is going to happen. But what we can't keep doing is, and again, whether you blame the manager or not, making these same mistakes, these same errors, and doing the same things. It is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. And I think it's just... there comes a point where you have to just sit down and go, right, you know what, this whole bombing forward every time, it's not working. So like Dom says, let's look at this. It's a 2-legged tie. And I seriously think that whether you're sort of pro or anti-Wenger, he doesn't. I refuse to believe that he would have gone in after that game last night and thought, we should really have, we should really have shut down the game at this point. He must go into that dressing room and look at those players and just say, what the fuck? You've done it again. You know, I can't for a minute think that he sits there in training or talks in training or whatever all through the week and goes, right, lads, what I want you to do is go out there and give me 20 minutes. And if we haven't won the game, fuck it. Doesn't really matter. You just all go in free form. There must be some direction somewhere. And there's either a lack of leadership on the pitch, which I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. I think we miss Arteta, which, you know, people will say, oh, he doesn't bring anything to the side, but he brings leadership and a calm. And I think even someone like Mertesacker, who is deemed calm, I think just loses it. And I agree. I can't remember who it was who said that Mertesacker shouldn't be in that position. I agree with that. You know, why on earth is he trying to win a ball 10 yards inside the opposition half? I mean, you know, that's the centre half.
Knowing that if he leaves his man, you've got a one-on-one with the keeper. Yeah.
And also
unreal.
Look at, and when he goes to win that ball, you know, I know we've said, you know, Coquelin didn't have his best night, and nor did the fullbacks. And granted, I agree, they shouldn't be forward. But should those fullbacks and Coquelin really, should they really plan for our slowest lumbering centre back to be winning the ball inside the opposition half? Is that really their responsibility to sit there and go, well I better sit
as a team, Chris?
Yeah,
I defend as a team.
I agree, but why is he going there?
Coquelin's job has been to be DM. Okay,
yeah.
He has not been there to push up. Every fucker was up. Okay, it's easy to blame Mertesacker here. Okay, but the bottom line is every fucker was up there.
But he's level. He's level with. I mean, Coquelin is. If you watch the footage, I mean, Coquelin is to the side, but he's level with Mertesacker. He must look up and go.
But
what
why are there four people heading towards the same fucking player?
Oh, I agree.
And this is after we've already conceded a goal.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's where flip flop is absolutely spot on, because we've already gone 1-0 down. So what do? We go kamikaze trying to get that goal back. And we risk going 2-0 down. You don't do that. You sit back. You get composed. You go. You know what? There's a long way to go in this tie. Not just another 70 minutes of this game. There's another 90 minutes away at Monaco. Let's not do anything rash and silly. And we didn't. And like you said, you know, we've got everybody pushed right up.
Dom, more to the point, okay? Every single player in that park knows Mertesacker's the slowest one. So why are there four of them heading there? Why aren't two of those guys heading back towards goal? Okay, they all know each other's strengths. They all know each other's qualities. You can slag Mertesacker down all you want, okay? He's made a gamble. It hasn't come off. But for fuck's sakes, you know, Coquelin's got more pace in him. Bellerin's got more pace in him. They've all got more pace in him. But it's like watching kids' football. Oh, we'll all chase the ball around. Let's all go to the man. You know, don't tell me that's Mertesacker's fault alone. They're all as culpable as the next.
I agree with you, Jace. I totally agree.
Alone, Jace.
I totally agree with that point. Sorry, Jace. I was just going to say before I forget that I totally agree with you, Jace, and you're absolutely right. And I don't want it to be the blame game, because it's not just Mertesacker, and I think he's taken far too much stick this season already. What I would say though is, as I say, when you're playing alongside, I think probably Coquelin and the fullbacks probably looked and thought, what the fuck is he doing there? And the other thing, just to touch on very briefly, Dom, what you said about, you know, game management. The second goal, am I right in saying it was the 53rd minute? I think it was something like that.
Yeah, 53rd.
Okay, so that's within 10 minutes of going in at half-time, when surely the manager sat them down and said, right, it's 1-0, we're 1-0 down, we will get chances, do not concede a second goal. That would have been the first thing, and probably the last thing that he said when they entered and before they left the changing rooms. And within 10 minutes of the second half starting, we get caught again. I mean, that is...
The sad thing is, you know, look at the titles. Bellerin, defender. Shelney, defender. Gibbs, defender. What's his chops? Coquelin, defensive midfielder. You know, there was no fucking defending there.
No. The thing is, Jace, we brought this up a little bit earlier before we started the pod, and I think it needs to sort of just be mentioned that I'm not giving anybody excuses at all, but there are some times where, you know, if we put in a good defensive shift and play well against City, for example, you can, and the commentators say it as well, Steve Bald has had a big influence here. You can tell Steve Bald's, you know, come through and helped us out there. And then when we play like that, there's no mention of it. No. So when you're talking about the blame game, it is everybody. Every single person there, including the tea lady, needs to put some Viagra in their eye drops, stand in front of a mirror and take a long, hard look at themselves.
But let's be honest, okay? Every single person on anything but European football, and home and away ties, no, you don't want them scoring an away goal. We've had enough chances to win this game, okay? Monaco were not fucking great. They were good, but they weren't great. We just gave the ball away far too sloppily. We didn't get a one-touch game going, okay? We didn't get it going at all, you know? 1 to 14, not one of those players came out of that with any credit. And for anybody who wants to say, oh, so-and-so had a good game, or so-and-so had a good first half, bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. It was a fucking shambles. These are experienced players, every single one of them. And no one player there is more culpable than anybody else.
No, you lose as a team and you win as a team. And speaking of team, a fantastic quote from probably the shittiest person living in the British Isles right now. A gentleman named Jose Mourinho stated on Goals on Sunday, exactly, Arsenal, I don't understand why they are not where we are with Man City. Look at the players and look at the squad. They have to win because they're fantastic. Jose Mourinho is asking why we're not good enough. And I think, Kris, you made a good point early on when we were talking about Theo. And you made a comparison to Gareth Bale about having a game winner. And maybe we've got a lot of great individual talent and skill, but I think one of the things that we see, we look at it and long for as Arsenal fans, is to have a cutthroat killer on the field for our team, because it seems more often than not that that's what we're lacking. And I've made this argument for a long time about Tiger Woods is when he got caught cheating on Elon. And he said, I'm going to change, and I'm not going to be, the ruthless person that I was before. He's been a shit golfer ever since. And actually, I think me and him would actually play a decently competitive round nowadays. And the reason is because he changed his mentality to be less ruthless. And I think with the way the club shifted from Highbury to the Emirates, it shifted Wenger's focus a little bit. And maybe, I'm not saying that he's any less of a manager. I just don't think he's as ruthless as he may have been, because he's had to change focus and priority during those few sort of, penny pinching years when we first moved to the Emirates. So I think that is one of the big issues that leads into this.
He's never been a ruthless manager in that respect. He's always been a guy who's nurtured talent. He's never been somebody who shouts at players and so forth.
There's different ways to be ruthless, Jace.
I know that.
It's how you approach it in training and in your team talks, and you're right. He's never really been the one to yell at players. When right before the game yesterday, Thierry Henry said he would come in and just rip us apart at halftime. So I think that has been there, and I think it's still there now. I just think the degree to which he uses it now is different from before, and maybe we're seeing the fact. Again, I don't know because I'm not at the club, and I don't know if what he did in 1997 is the exact same thing that he's doing now. It's just, I think overall at the club, there's a lack of that killer instinct and ruthless mentality that's being felt from top to bottom.
Can I make a quick little point before we go on, sort of about that?
Go for it, Tom.
People talk about that exact same thing when it comes to players on the field and leadership and things like that. We were, if you go back to when Arsenal were, unstoppable, early 2000s, they had your Vieiras, your Bergkamps, your Thierry Henrys, your Sol Campbells, your leaders on the pitch. It was a golden age of football. You don't just look at the Arsenal side there. You look at the Man United side, your Scholes, your Giggs, your Keanes, your Nevilles, those kind of guys. If you look around the league as a whole now, it doesn't seem as... It just doesn't seem that same. Yeah, that same. The characters don't seem as strong. It seems. I don't know whether it's a lot to do with more money becoming available into the Premier League, so a lot more foreign players are coming in. They don't speak English. They didn't grow up here. Football for them is a little bit more of a. They've got more flair about them. If you're talking about the South Americans, the Brazilians and stuff, it's a little bit less. Those qualities just don't seem to be the same in those players coming in. And because there's been a lot more of those players come in, maybe those things have been watered down a little bit, because most of the names that I mentioned are British players, with the exception of your Thierry Henrys and your Bergkamps. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. If you look across the league as a whole now, how many teams have more than one or two of those types of players that you can really sort of look at and know are going to, like your Gerrards, your Lampards, they're old school players. There's not that many coming through these days. I'm just wondering if it was a golden age of football. You look at the NBA, everyone will talk about the 90s with your Jordans and your Shaquille O'Neals and your Scottie Pippens, and the list goes on and on and on. We can sit here and do the same with Premier League football in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was just a bit of a golden generation when it comes to those types of characters in the game.
But Dom, if you look at it now, Kris was talking about the Man City squad and our squad being as good. They've got 4 £20 million strikers on the books.
Are they all worth 20 mil though, Jace?
That doesn't matter. That's what they paid for them. And if somebody pays it for them, they're worth it. Right? That's the bottom line.
It's what they were charged for them.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
I agree, Jace. I agree.
It doesn't
if they
matter.
paid 20 million, that's what they valued them at, and that's something that we can't do.
We went for Jovetic. Right? No, he's going to City. Right? Bakary Sagna is happy to go there for the money and sit on the bench. There's a lack of ambition because these guys are all on 200 grand a week. They couldn't give a monkeys.
But would you take? I mean, people talk about, and I sort of agree and I disagree on both sides. But how many of those Chelsea or City strikers would you take? I mean, Aguero speaks for himself. I wouldn't take Costa personally because I don't think he suits Arsenal's style of play at all.
Costa,
he's still good though, Kris.
Oh yeah, he's very good. I think
Diego Costa.
Yeah, I think he's overrated to the degree that he has been.
Costa would have buried 2 of those chances last night.
Yeah,
probably agree with that. But would we have created those chances for him?
I take Negredo over.
Really?
The difference is, Kris. Kris, the difference is I would argue Loic Remy is a better third choice striker than Yaya Sanogo.
Oh, I agree with that.
If you look at the depth that those guys have got, it's ridiculous. I just want to, Danny, can I ask you that question? So, seeing as you've been around football a lot longer than most of us when it comes to, and you seem to be someone that does enjoy the history and the old school side of the thing. I want to ask you that question about leadership on the field, and do you think there's been much of a difference between not just in Arsenal but in general in the Premier League in the early 2000s compared to now?
But give me that question a little bit more depth, because that's a very wide-ranging answer I could give there.
So a lot of people will sort of point at our squad at the moment and say that there's not enough leaders, there's not enough cutthroat players that will get us over the line and experience heads. And I sort of look at the whole Premier League as a whole now and think with all the money that's come in, the international players that have come in and watered that down a little bit, because if you compare our team to your Bergkamps, Henrys, Campbells, those types of leaders that we had, and same with Man United and Liverpool at the time, they also had a lot of those kind of leaders on the field. And yet I look at the Premier League as a whole now and I don't see any teams with a high concentration of those types of players.
Yeah, I suppose you got a point. Back in the day, you'd have Adams, Keown, Campbell, you'd have Hillier and Davies and all of that lot. All of them, they never shirked their responsibility. Whether you were captain or not, you still went out there and played as if you were going to be captain. But nowadays, you get far too many players who are thinking about their own futures and thinking about how the game is going to reflect them. Like Tony Adams would never go out there and say, I had a great game. It was all down to me. It was if we won, it was a team effort. If we lost, he would say it was my fault. Occasionally, and he was just people like that. As much as you hate John Terry and Gerrard and all that lot, they're old school kind of people with a kind of attitude of I'm going to take the responsibility and I'm going to give everything on the pitch no matter what. You'd never see Tony Adams putting himself in the positions that Mertesacker was sometimes put himself in, because Tony wasn't blessed with pace. And he'd organise the entire thing. Sometimes I reckon you could hear a pin drop out there on the pitch when Szczesny isn't playing, because at times Szczesny's the only one who's shouting and screaming at people to tell them what to do. So I think, you have got a point, and it seemed to be a dying breed of someone who's going to go out there, whether they're captain or not, and tell everybody just to pull their finger out and get the job done. So I think you're right.
Combined with that, Danny, okay, those guys, kids nowadays, they're 18 years of age. They never played a first team game,
and they've got it all.
Yeah, got 30 grand a week. Okay, you look at the way, as I said it before, our fan base idolise players. People are idolising Gabriel already. Okay, he's only played a fucking game for us.
instant gratification society.
You get Flamini being vilified for being a professional footballer, for having a go, for doing his best. He'll bleed for that club.
Yeah, when you do get stuck,
is there any sort of younger players coming through that you can see have those qualities in the English Premier League at all? So if you take Gerrard away from Liverpool, they don't have the next sort of player that you would look at would probably be someone like a Henderson, and he's not got those qualities. And it's the same with us, where if you take away maybe Arteta, you're looking at Ramsey and Wilshere, and I don't think they've got those types of qualities that I'm talking about either. So, I think across the board.
But he hasn't shown it yet.
Wilshere
Not
hasn't
yet.
shown any of it yet.
Yeah, not yet. But if you look across the board, though,
there's no evidence to suggest he's got the capability because he's seen this all. Okay, but there's no evidence to suggest he can do it.
No,
Ramsey's
headbutting Fellaini, in the chin is not showing those types of qualities, is it? But that's what I mean. If you go back to the like I said, I think it was a golden age of Premier League football where teams had those kind of characters. Every team had a few of them. Whereas now I look around at the league as a whole, and I don't really see any. If you guys can think of any, tweet me in, because I'd be interested to see what everybody out there thinks as far as not just in our team, but across the board. I'm talking West Ham, I'm talking QPR, I'm talking anywhere.
Every team was outplayed, weren't they?
Wait. QPR has Joey Barton.
Yeah. But every team was outplayed. Barcelona
even Joey
Barton
Barton
off the pitch. PSG played Chelsea off the pitch. And arguably we got played off the pitch. So English football is, like Dom says, English football right at the moment. We talk about there's too many people, and I'll include a lot of people on Twitter about this. They seem to think that the only football in the world is in the Premier League. Well, I've got news. There's a lot of football played in a lot of other places around the world.
I don't think PSG played Chelsea off the pitch that much, and last night we weren't played off the pitch. We fucking handed it to them.
There's a difference. I just think it's worth considering. Is the Premier League being watered down of those types of characters? Because I think that talent-wise, everybody goes on about talent, and what kind of ability you have. Tony Adams wouldn't have been scouted these days. No. He wasn't blessed with the best skills in football. There's these South Americans.
Apparently he was though. There's a story about the guy who scouted him. He was at West Ham.
You know what I mean, though, don't you? You see the point that I'm making is that a lot of these English talents probably don't have the same skills at the same age as what a lot of maybe French, South American types of players perhaps will have. And so those qualities, I think, are probably more so found in those old school English guys when they're brought up. They're used to the English game. They speak the language. And I mean, it's great. It's fantastic to be able to bring in your Agueros and your Sanchez's into the league, and it's fantastic to see and have the best players in the world play. But I'm just wondering, as a whole, if those types of characters are starting to get harder and harder to find.
I don't see any in our team.
Well, now, back in the day, if you wanted to make a living out of football, you had to work your arse off. When Ian Wright signed for Arsenal, he signed for $8,000 a week. He signed the contract and then said, how much am I on? It would be the other way around. It would be 2 weeks of negotiating with players now. And if you wanted to make a living from football, you knew that you had to grow up and you had to take responsibility, and you'd learn it the hard way with all the kicking, the biting, the punching, and the poking, and the fingers under the armpits when you're trying to help the people off the floor. You try and your studs down the back of their ankles. Everything is so scrutinised now. You can't even sneeze before 20 cameras are on it, and everyone on Twitter is psychoanalysing every single little thing you do. So they've got no enthusiasm to try and do anything in the game, because you got it all straight from the beginning. When you got 17-year-olds at Arsenal earning more a week than probably Ian Wright ever did, and Ian Wright only left us in 1998-99 when he went to West Ham after the FA Cup final. So what incentive is there for players to go, right, I really need to go out there and I really need to play my arse off if I want to make a life out of this? You have 5 or 6 years as an average pro, you're going to easily going to be able to retire on that.
That's a football problem, not an Arsenal problem, though. That's the
No,
trouble.
just the whole
the
thing,
more
but
money that comes, the worse it's going to get.
At every level.
Yeah, but if you look at Monaco, if you look at what was the Russian team that Eto went to?
Angie Makalach.
Yeah, that's it.
Now in the second division.
Yeah, those boys went out there and just basically couldn't give a shit.
No.
Qatar is the new one, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going out there.
He was the world's highest placed footballer when he was $500,000 a week tax free. Eto was on, I think.
But at the same time, surely, and I don't want to drag this on too much longer if for my own, but I would also say you do have to look at the professionals themselves as well and say, well, are they challenging themselves? I mean, are they looking at it and going, well, is this a career where Jack Wilshere is a prime example? You know, I've got no doubt that he cares deeply about Arsenal, but does he care deeper for the fame and the enjoyment and the money side of it? And is Arsenal just the extra part of what he cares about?
Maybe it's easy just to keep your head down and get on with it.
Yeah. How many players are you going to get that are bigged up and ultimately go nowhere? We take the piss out of David Bentley. You know, how good a player could he have been if he hadn't had his head turned by lots of bullshit? You know, there are thousands. You know,
the problem we got is when you got Chelsea just buying anybody. You know, they're
stockpiling.
Stockpiling footballers. Okay, putting them out on loan. Right, and all these guys,
26 players out on loan.
They know they're not getting that first team. So where's their ambition? But they're thinking, well, I'm set up for life.
Scott Sinclair, Jack Rodwell. Yeah, exactly.
I'm set up for life. So there's a lack of personal ambition there. And to be honest, there should be rules and squad sizes.
Yeah,
they'll never change it.
And having that amount of players out on loan, you know, they talk about FFP. It's a joke.
Yeah, it is.
Always will be if it's run by anybody at FIFA or UEFA. We could easily talk on this for another 3 hours. And we probably will once the podcast ends, but we won't bore you to death with it. So what I want to do, and I'm actually going to go to Jason first for some Facebook questions because Jace does a great job with the Facebook page. He doesn't get enough credit for it. So Jace, what are some questions we have over on the Book of Faces?
That's the only thing I use Facebook for is to go and see what Jason does, and I've been commenting in there. I don't know if you've seen. Seriously, I don't do anything on there. I just go and have a look. It's like looking at an old school football magazine, like Shoot Match or 90 Minutes.
It's where I can plagiarise off other people.
Nick the pictures. We don't care.
Look at the Pirates page, Daddy. God damn you.
We do. We were looking at the goal difference, weren't we, Jace?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I didn't believe him when he said it was minus 28.
Yeah. It was the TMR View boys that let me down. 15 is this disgrace.
That was a £5 well spent.
Tell you what, I asked Dan, he was refereeing, was it Kevin Friend? He said, no, it was Stevie Wonder.
I think I did, actually.
He did. Okay, the first question is from Liam Reed. I know we've been going a while now, so what I'll do, I'll ask two of each question. Do you think that not enough has been made of a poor finishing last night? Yes, defending resembled a hungover kick about in the park, but Welbeck should have scored. One was blocked by Theo, and Giroud should have scored to make it 3-3. Is it better than 3? Sorry, to make it better than 3-1. Despite this, I perhaps stupidly think we still have a chance. Jace, you go.
I think last night offensively just wasn't our night. I think once we didn't get the goal early on, Giroud started to rush, and at that point his form went out the window, and that's why I started to sky everything because he was leaning back on all those. So, not our night. I do think we'll go through, but it's going to be by the skin of our teeth.
Kris,
it's tough. I mean. If I had to be honest, I don't think we'll get through. It's not me being a doom monger. I just, having seen an awful lot of Monaco, in the French league and various over the season. I mean that, this is a side that know how to defend. I don't think they'll be anywhere near as. I don't think they'll be given as an easy ride as they were last night in terms of our finishing. And I do expect it to score over there. In fact, I expect it to score a couple. I think I tweeted it last night. My biggest concern is that I cannot see this Arsenal side not conceding. And the trouble is that if you think Monaco were defensive last night, you just wait until we go to their pitch, which, by the way, their pitch is not good. They've had terrible weather conditions. They had a game called off a few weeks ago against Montpellier because the rain was so hard. And their pitch is pretty shit as it is. If you remember back to the old days, it's built on a car park. There's a car park directly below it.
With a running track around the outside of it.
With a running track around the outside of it, which doesn't make for excellent conditions as far as the pitch because it's laid directly onto sort of concrete with grass over the top. So it's not a good pitch as it is, which won't suit our game. the other thing as well is that, again, look at how we defended last night. We have got to go to, I was going to say France, and it's technically not France, but we've got to go to the Principalities in 2 weeks, and we've got to get goals. And where are we most susceptible? When we are chasing goals. So I do think we'll go out. I think it will be another Bayern Munich brave 2-0 away win, and go out on away goals, or we might even get the 3 we need and then ship one with 10 minutes to go, because that would be typically Arsenal. I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but I can't see it.
Okay. Next question from Charles Brooker. To quote Tony Adams, play for the badge on the front of the shirt and people will remember the name on the back. Which members of our squad does this apply to? Danny?
Ozil. Occasionally when he wants to pull his finger out, I think if you watch him, if you're at the game, you don't have to watch what the TV shows. Because when I used to go to games, I used to think the first thing that was really stood out for me is that I could watch any one player. Now, back in the day, Sky used to have an option where you could watch any one player. They would say, well, for the next 20 minutes we're watching this one player. Also, they used to do a thing with no commentary, which I think people are saying they want to bring back. So, oh bloody hell, pardon me, Pepsi Max at its worst. I think Ozil on his day is a thing of beauty to watch, but yeah, in the current team, Sanchez definitely. I think Giroud was brilliant with the way that he falls back, the way he holds up the ball, the way he plays like a deep role, a striker, the way he moves around everywhere. I think if you just had a camera and you watched any of those players for 90 minutes, I think sometimes some of them do get, or definitely Giroud and Ozil definitely do get the wrong end of the stick at times, and I think they all know that, and they do all work their asses off. I think it's players like Theo, bless him, is one of those ones where he could do with learning a little bit from the other players who do give it all the time, and they believe in themselves, which he doesn't.
Okay, Dom.
I'm going to be a little bit harsh here and say I can't think of one player that I see and look at and think that would play for the Arsenal if it meant that they didn't even get paid. That's the kind of thing I think Tony Adams was referring to when he's saying you play for the badge on the front.
Yeah.
You hear those stories like Danny said earlier where they went in and signed their contract, didn't ask any questions, then said, oh, by the way, how much am I getting paid? I think that, that may have disappeared now. We brought that up a little bit earlier, so we won't go back into that. But I'm going to be really harsh and say I can't see any of our current squad that I could genuinely see playing for the Arsenal, no matter what, even if they didn't get any money for doing it.
I will add to that Tony Adams always made sure he was the highest paid player at the Arsenal.
Yeah, he used to go in for contract negotiations and get in a better one for himself, didn't he? And come out and go, not you lot, but I did.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's go from there. Right, okay, so let's go to Habib. Hanania, sorry, Habib. Might be. Do you guys think the fans will ever stop blaming Ozil for other players' deficiencies? The front three was so narrow, we had no one to hit. Fans berate Ozil for looking like he doesn't care, but he runs more than most. At one point, he's the only one with Pear and Cos running back to stop the counter-attack. Kris?
Meza is a really tricky one. He polarises opinions completely. I think that the problem that Mesut Ozil has, there's a stat which is going around, which credit to John Welsh, brought this up as a question, that Alexis has not scored one goal since Mesut has returned to the side. I don't think there's a coincidence in that, and I think the reason behind that is that Mesut Ozil is a player that needs runners. He needs players to be on his wavelength. He needs the forward line to be constantly moving, and he always needs to have an option. And I think there are too many times where you'll see him pick up the ball and he'll look around and there's nowhere for him to go, which often means that he'll either give the ball away or he'll play a slack pass, which then obviously everyone gets on his back. And I think the player cam thing that Danny brought up is an excellent point, because I think if you watch Mesut for periods of the game, you will see that he does have his head up. He is always looking for that pass, and I think the difference is Mesut Ozil reminds me a lot of sort of brain-wise of Dennis Bergkamp, in that he sees things that players just don't even consider. They don't even see it, and it's very frustrating as a player who's clearly got so much ability to look up and play what is actually a brilliant pass, But unfortunately, because the players that he's got in front of him are either not making the runs that he's looking for, or are not basically good enough to read the position or the play he's trying to set up, that affects his game. And you only have to look at what he did at Real Madrid, and I think the same could be said if you ask any Man United fans about what they're watching in Angel Di Maria. The styles of play are very different. Whereas you look at Madrid, they played him to his optimum level, where he sat in the middle of the park and basically just played in players at pace and at will inside the channels. Whereas you look at our wingers, and they're either too far inside or too far out wide. So, I think the problem that you've got with Mesut Ozil, I know we touched on it earlier on, body language is, it's a myth for me. It doesn't help, granted, but Matt Letizia had terrible body language, and look at the ability that guy had. I mean, it's difficult because everyone wants to see that player just racing around, charging around, making tackles because it gets the crowd up, but it doesn't make them a better player. I just think that we have to find, if he's going to have a future at Arsenal, we've got to find a system that suits him. If you pay that much for a player with that much ability, you owe it to him to find his best position in that side. And if you don't find that, you can't moan at the player for not giving you what you basically bought him to do when you're not allowing him to do that.
Chase.
Yeah, I'll just sort of second what Kris said there. I think body language it's overdone at times. Different players are going to react different ways to different things, and to be expecting every player to go into one sort of body language mode whenever something happens is a little far-fetched. But I think he's a great player. I don't think he deserves half the stick that he gets. I do think I would rather him give up the ball 10 times a game trying to pull off the perfect pass on the top of the opponent's box than just not even ever try the pass and just be bland and boring, because when those do come off, that's why we have him there. So I'm fine with him, giving the ball away a little. I do understand why people get onto him. I just think it's a little unfair at times.
Okay, I'll do the final one from Facebook now because I've had so many questions, but we've covered a lot of them. Thank you everyone who's asked anything. You're all great. Been a really good day on there. This one's from Alex Orlando Cross, and I'm going to Dan you that first, and then Dom. Danny, is it possible that Berbatov's hairline will recede any further before the second leg?
I think he could have a Roberto Baggio style ponytail, and that would be the only part of his hair that is left. So yeah, I think he's got a point there, and it's quite worrying. I might not sleep now.
To be fair, a rat tail would suit.
And he is a rat.
Berbatov, he is scum. Dominic.
Don't care.
Right, let's go over to Twitter questions.
Awesome. I think Kris, you've got some Twitter questions. I think Danny's got a couple as well. So we'll start with Chris's.
Cool. Let's have a look. I mentioned John Welsh's, so I'll skip over that one. Let's go to Luca. Luca Kolakusic, friend of the pod. Evening, Luca. Bok. He wanted to ask. I've picked out the wrong one. There we go. I'll ask you, Danny, seeing as you piped up there, how much, if any, and this is very difficult, so keep it brief. How much, if any, of the blame is on the manager for last night, or is it the players? So what's your kind of thought on that?
That's the eternal question, is it? If I tell you to go to the shops, buy me eggs, bread and milk, and you come back with sausages, cheese and a tin of cat food, whose fault is that? I told you what to do, you just didn't do it. I don't think that question can be answered. I think it's got to be a bit of motivation. The players aren't listening. It's just a bit of bad luck, just a bit of bad of everything. I still think we can, knowing us, we're so fluky, we could get a result away at Monaco. All we need to do is beat them 2-0, doesn't it? Would that be enough?
No, because they away goal.
Oh,
we need to score. We need to score 3 without
3-1 then. 3-1 will go away and we'll
3-1 an extra time.
There you go, and we'll fluke it, and then we'll look back at this pod and go, "What were we moaning about?"
Maybe
as we've won the FA Cup again.
Oh, don't tease us. Done one for you, Solo Guna. When Per is benched, Santi captains the team. I don't see him as a proper captain either. What's your views on that one?
Oh, I think the captain's armband sometimes is a little bit too much of a I think we do put a little bit too much emphasis on it sometimes. I think that you need captains out on the field, like we've already spoken about. I just don't think that we have many. I really don't see that many leaders out on the pitch. So hopefully that change. Hopefully some players step up. Hopefully we start to see, some changes in the mentality of footballers eventually, where they realise that they've got an opportunity that millions of people all over the world, including us, only dream of having. And hopefully they stop taking it for granted, stand on a mirror, get the fuck over themselves and get on with the job.
Yeah, well said. We did have one from Wizard of Ozil who said, do you think we can still go through? We've kind of addressed that, but I wanted to give him a bit of a nudge. Jace Davies, I'll ask you this one. It kind of touches on the Everton game, which we'll come on to in a minute, but he wants to know, would you bring Szczesny back for that game?
Yeah, I would. I would, actually. I thought Ospina was poor last night. Sorry. To be honest, I think we need a world-class goalkeeper. I'd fuck the pair of them off. They're not good enough.
Big answer that. Don't agree, but thank you. I don't actually know if I've got any others anymore. So I did have one from Jahib, but it's gone. So here it is. So OG, I'll come to you and then we'll switch to see if Danny's got any. OJ, sorry. Could you talk about Arsenal potentially switching to 3-5-2? And what kind of views you'd have on if we did that? So it's basically the Liverpool system. Do you think there's anything in that? Do you think that's even remotely a possibility, or would you like to see it?
Not with the back three we currently have. No, I don't want to see it, especially for the fact that we only have three center backs. Who would you have? You'd have Chambers on the bench, and then you'd be sticking Monreal in there, who did well at center back. But no, I think you got to put that ahead or put that in the past, and maybe it's something in the next couple of years you can start to sort of work on and build once you get some new talent and some fresh legs and minds into the club. But right now we're having enough trouble sticking it out with four back there, much less three. And you put a couple of the guys up in the mid. Granted, I think we play like a 2-4-4-2 or something like that at the moment. I don't. That math doesn't add up, but you know what I'm saying with the way our fullbacks bomb up anyway. So I think we need to stick with four at the back, and we've not mastered this formation with these players yet, and all of these players are sort of built for this type of formation. So I don't think we need to go tweaking our system, especially mid-season, or I obviously don't think we'll do it in the off season either. So I think we put that on the shelf for right now and stick with what we think we know.
Yeah, I agree. Just to give you Jahanzeb's lineup, interesting. Szczesny, Koscielny, Gabriel and Chambers as the three, with Wilshere and Coquelin holding, Bellerin wide right, Alexis wide left, Chamberlain behind Walcott and Giroud. So that's food for thought. Just before we go to Danny, could we just have 30 seconds to laugh at Spurs? Because we haven't done that yet. So could we just...
The mighty Fiorentina.
Yeah. Oh, and also, if we could laugh at the Scousers as well.
Who did they lose to?
Besiktas.
Bless you.
That's you. There we go.
Hey, you're all weak.
So it could be worse because we've
and Fiorentina have just sold their best player too.
Yes, so we could potentially bow out of the Champions League, but at least we haven't bowed out of bowed. Is that the right word? Bowed out? Yes. Of Europe's seventh choice competition. So fuck them.
Well, at least Spurs can concentrate on the FA Cup now. Oh, actually.
Oh, hang on.
No, they can't, can they?
No, they can concentrate on losing on Sunday.
They will get an absolute whooping.
Yep. 44 cunts on the ball. Oh, no, 22 cunts on the ball, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, dear. Right, shall I do some questions now?
Go for it.
You should.
Right, we're going to go and got 4 questions, each one of you, yes or no, and I'm going to go left to right on my screen as you all are. First of all, this is from Peter Kennelly?
Kennelly, yeah.
Bloody hell, I've never seen that word before. Are we missing Arteta more than we know? Mr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Schrader?
Probably.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Nushki?
No.
There you go, that's nice and simple. Right then, 50 Shades of Red. Should Santi be playing CAM instead of Ozil? Mr. Davies?
No.
Mr. Schrader?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, but with Ozil.
What, 2 CAMs?
Yes.
Look at you getting all FIFA on their
Sorry.
asses. And Mr. Nusky.
No, I want Ozil number 10 with a proper box-to-box midfielder, not Cazorla as the central midfielder.
Anyone we have at the club, or
Oh, Ramsey, Wilshere, Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's just they've all been injured.
Schneiderlin.
don't send him off on one.
He's the DM, Chris.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, I apologise.
Okay, this is my personal favourite question of the night from Connor Jennings. If a club like Bayern Munich came in with a 30 to 35 million pound bid for Ozil, would you sell him back to him or stick with him, Mr. Davis?
I wouldn't sell him. It's a fucking stupid idea.
Really?
I wouldn't sell him. Why do you sell your best player?
Because he's
Why do you sell? Not your best player. Sorry. Why do you sell a £42 million player for less than the money you've paid for him? It's ridiculous. Sorry, dog shit. Don't sell him. You stick with him. You persevere, and you fucking get through the hard times. All these people when there had been no players. Fuck them.
There you go. Words of wisdom there, Mr. Schrader.
Depends on when his contract is up and if he's going to leave for free in the summer.
I think he signed a 5-year deal, was it? Bloody hell, it was a 10-year deal, the amount of money we paid for him.
If it's this summer, then hell no.
Yeah, because that's a lot of money to write off, 42.5 million. Mr. Carpenter, any wise words?
I'm worried at why Cucumber is trending on Twitter, but we're...
I think it's that Channel 4 series.
Oh, right, okay. As long as it's not something that somebody's doing with it.
Yeah, watching it.
I agree with Jace. It's madness to say sell your best player.
Yep.
What I would say is if you could get what you paid for him and replace him with better, then yes. But in our current circumstances, no.
We do currently have 3 players at the club that can play in that position.
Yeah, but they're all 28, aren't they? Sorry, they're all late 20s.
Don't be mean. They're all wonderful young men.
If you can replace him with, if you can bring in a Paulo Dybala or somebody who's got 10 years on him for cheaper money, then possibly. But
you could have made that name up for most people would care who even know. You could have made him up for Inky Splinky.
Okay, if you could get Marco Reus.
Oh, there we go.
Then potentially, but I mean he plays a different position. But if you bought Marco Reus, you'd have Alexis one side, Reus the other. But then arguably, if you get Reus, you'd get rid of Theo. So it's
you're doing a Carpenter.
I am. There's not many 10. No, keep him.
Good God, Mr. Nusky. Every time I said your surname, I think
has everybody
I'm saying
lost
it
the
wrong.
plot? Sorry, I'm going to do a Jason here. Has everyone absolutely lost their minds? We're not Chelsea, we're not City. You don't just buy a player like that and then just throw him out as soon as he's, has a little bit of a rough run. People might say, oh, it's been too long, but it's not. Other than when he came back from his injury, he's been our best player, man of the match, other than against Monaco, just about every week. And you get players around him that he needs. You get pace, you get movement around him. It's not his fault that everyone stands still and just says, here, pass me the ball. He's not that type of player. Anybody can do what he's being asked to do because the players around him aren't... Jeff says it well. He passes the ball where you should be. Yeah. It's not his fault that we've got a bunch of stationary players up forward and Welbeck and Sanchez wanting to cut inside and be narrow. It's idiotic to just throw somebody out. Oh, don't even get me started. The guy's unbelievable. Are you serious? We finally bought a world-class player and then we're going to do a Chelsea and City and just be like, we can just throw him out and get someone else.
Hasn't he got as many goals from open play as Santi? And he's been injured after the season.
It's ridiculous. It's a stupid... don't even get me started. Just this whole concept of selling players like that's just stupid. You're not guaranteed anything by bringing somebody else in.
I tell you, do you know what really fucking saddens me? It's a lack of fucking backbone. It's a lack of stand up and fight. You stand by these guys,
Exactly.
You criticise them fair enough, but you don't fucking ditch them. It's pathetic.
Unless it's Lucas Podolski.
Can I very, very, very quickly? Can I just put the shoe on the other foot? What if he wants to leave?
I don't think he would.
Because
that's a different argument altogether.
Yeah, I'm purely being devil's advocate.
But that's not ditching him. That's not playing devil's advocate. It's not playing devil's advocate. If he wants to go, there's not a lot you're going to be able to do about it. But you want the money back then. If he wants to go,
I think that's more likely to happen than us selling him. I think he is the one that might say, you know what, this is not for me.
Maybe move back to Spain. We're not going to speculate. We want him to stay because
Yeah.
on his day, he is one of the best passes in the world and one of the best 10s in the world. We just need to have that more often and believe in him.
Yes.
Much like I don't think any of us said how good the Ox's goal was against Monaco. That was world class. Well done, Mr. Ox.
Yes.
Okay, final question. This is one that our very own GC, who will be back any pod soon. So this is from Bilal, who says, should the club give out free tickets to fill up the empty seats? Gav's idea is to in kids at school to, what's the word begins with E?
Egg?
No, no. When you encourage people to do well at school. Yeah, there's a word for that. I can't remember what it is.
Encourage?
That's it.
Encourage.
Encourage is the E word beginning with encourage that I was trying to think of. Oh, I'm having a moment. He said for kids at school to give them tickets to Arsenal if they do well. It's going to get us young kids supporting Arsenal. If the seats are empty, then the club goes, well, today we've got 100 empty seats. We're going to give them away if you do well at school. I think it's a win all round. Do you think this day will ever come, Mr. Davies?
I think if the club have any ambition, they get involved in local charities, local kids charities, schools, etc., and they try to do something like that. But in order to do that, they will have to improve the e-ticketing system and so forth, and maybe encourage people to give those tickets to charity, because majority of people who don't turn up are season ticket holders. Where's the incentive for them to do it? So it all depends on the club's ambition and their social conscience, as in being part of the community. They should fucking do it. They should do it, because at the moment, well, no, I'm not going to go down that road. They should do it.
I read something recently about the number of season ticket boxes, executive boxes, that were only used for one game a season. It was an outstanding. It was an outrageous. It wasn't outstanding. It was an outrageous number. I mean, it wasn't like millions, because we don't have millions. Of course, it wasn't. But there's been quite a few boxes that were only used for one game, and the rest of the time they're empty, which is disgusting. They should have a limit on that. Mr. Schrader, what do you think? Do you think they should do that?
Absolutely. Anything that you can do to get younger kids and fresh blood in and have them grow up the Arsenal way, that's one thing that, coming from the States, I didn't get the opportunity to do. Newer Arsenal fan, and if I were to have a kid, I would move to London so that he could grow up in the shadow of the Emirates, so that we'd go as father and son to Arsenal games as much as we could, so that he would grow up and know the way, and he wouldn't be one of those people who's afraid to chant because someone would look at him funny, because he would be the one starting the chants and creating the atmosphere. And that's what you need, is that young blood and a club to keep even from a purely financial standpoint. If Kroenke wants more money, you got to get younger fans in at some point, because all your fans now are going to die at some point. So you got to get younger people in there somehow, and what better way to do it than that?
Mr. Carpenter, if Mr. Schrader wanted to adopt you and take you to all the games, would you willingly go and live with him and Mrs. Schrader?
Budget Jesus cannot be sold, Danny. You know this. Yeah, unless he's on a budget. I've got a slightly different view. I do think that we should be doing extra. I'm kind of with Jason on this one, which is worrying because I don't like agreeing with him. But I think
you have to when he's right, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think granted, yes, we do need to get more school kids in, but I don't think the answer is giving away free tickets, because I think that just encourages the fact that because when people then have to pay for them, they'll moan. I don't think free is the way. And Christ Almighty, we're the Arsenal. We shouldn't be giving away free tickets. We should be looking at the cost. Absolutely, I don't think we ever will, and I think this new Premier League deal is only going to mean an increase to the prices. I've got a slightly controversial view on the price. I think what we charge is excessive. What I don't think is particularly right is everyone moaning about how they go up each year, because I just think that, unfortunately, that is life. Everything goes up. The amount we put them up, it is wrong. I'll give you that. I think that we should be encouraging the ticket exchange system more. I think it's far too difficult for people who can't make games to give their tickets to someone else. I think the club should be doing far more, even via social media, to be promoting this. People like Arsenal Tickets do a fantastic job, but there's not enough manpower to get that done. Same with the AST, same with Black Scarf Movement, who do a lot for the club that is not acknowledged. And I think that, yes, the younger generation should be pushed, but ultimately it can be very difficult to get tickets for games, and that's the thing they should be pushing more for. And in the area, in the community, is vital. We should not alienate people from abroad, from different cultures, different races, different countries. Everyone should be welcome. But there is this sort of mentality at the moment of the quote, the iPad bringers, the tourists, which granted they spend a lot of money in the club and they've got every right to be there if they pay for tickets. What I would question is, why is it so many tourists seems to be able to get tickets very easily and yet local people are not going to games? That's a worry for me. And unfortunately, until the club change the way that the ground is laid out, you talk to any away fan that's been to the Emirates. I've got friends who are fans of other teams. They say it's a lovely stadium and they have a lovely time out because the away fans get a beautiful view. They've all got their little corner, they've got their singing section and they love it. It's a great day out for them. But yet our own supporters are being neglected, and I think that's, rather than giving tickets away, we should be focusing our money on getting the supporters we've already got. We should be retaining them and encouraging them to bring others rather than just giving away tickets.
Didn't breathe once. Well done, Mr. Nusky. Because Mr. Carpenter has done a carpenter, you have
0.2
seconds.
2 seconds.
0.2 seconds.
I can do that.
Go.
Look, as
Thank
an
you very
overseas
much.
fan, yeah, thank you. Look, just quickly, as an overseas fan, I think that I cannot see an argument to the contrary of doing exactly what Gav suggested in the past, purely because the club are doing these massive, big overseas tours, coming to places like out here and stuff to try to promote the club, to get as many worldwide fans as possible, to get they're putting so much focus on the TV money that they're cutting their nose to spite their face, because people like me will sit here and watch and dream of being able to be at the game, but if there's a half empty crowd where everyone's sitting down doing bugger all, it doesn't make you want to be there as much. You go, oh yeah, may as well just sit here and watch it. It doesn't even look that exciting at the game. So you cannot neglect the importance of getting those younger fans in, keeping them going. Like I said, they're doing a massive job of going all over the world to get new fans. How about they start in their own backyard and do something a little bit, more close to home as well? There's no reason they can't do both. That's the thing. Anyway.
Oh, well, there you go. That's all my questions. Back to you, Mr. Schrader.
Yeah, so definitely got Dom on tonight. Our resident injury expert, as he's got some training and insight into this. So, Dom, just a real quick sort of overview of the walking wounded we have. I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about Jack Wilshere before the pod, so let's start with him.
I think there was some report of him apparently not suffering a setback. However, he was in first team training, and then all of the sudden the other day he wasn't in first team training anymore after the manager said he was only a week away. And then the Monaco game, he wasn't involved at all. So if he hasn't had a setback, then he's on the shisha pipes again, because something's happened there. It might not be anything serious. They might have just realised that he's just, pulled up a bit sore from something, but not a big thing to worry about, although we do need him back quickly. Oxlade-Chamberlain was actually back a little bit earlier than I thought. Hopefully he's pulled up all right. Arteta's still a while away. Debussy's still a while away. And Ramsey's the funny one for me, because these repeat hamstring injuries are very, very, very complicated to deal with. There are elite athletes all over the world that have problems with this, so it's not something that you can point to our medical team, training methods, anything like that, and say there's something going on, there's something wrong there, because it's one of those problems that is so complicated that if anyone was able to fix it, they'd be an absolute billionaire, and they'd be all over the world going to sports teams fixing people's hamstrings. So let's just cross our fingers that he can come back into some form, come back fit and push on for the rest of the season. But it's a dodgy one. It's hard, really difficult.
Awesome. Let's briefly touch and get some predictions. We've got Everton coming up at home. Our last match against them had to take a Koscielny and a Ramsey goals late in the match to see us win it. Let's start with you, Jace. What do you see going on this weekend, and what's your prediction?
3-1 to the Arsenal. Giroud score first, hopefully, but I have no idea. After last night, they better fucking win.
Kris, you're next.
I think it'll be a closer thing. I think it'll probably be a 2-1 Everton win. Whoops, 2-1 Arsenal win. I think we'll bounce back. Everton played in the Europa League tonight, so hopefully they'll be cream crackered. Hopefully Lukaku proves to be the failure he is. Love you, Jace.
More goals than Origi.
Dear. Yeah, so I think it'll be. I think it'll probably be close. We need to bounce back. Sunday can't come quick enough. But yeah, 2-1 for me, and I'll go for first scorer. Christ, I don't know who have we got. Oh, I'll back Alexis to get back among the goals.
Dom, your Everton prediction.
I'm going to say a scrappy 1-0 win to us. I think the midweek game will take its toll mentally on us. And hopefully we can keep Lukaku quiet, because Kris, sometimes when you're wrong, mate. The guy's scoring goals for fun. Doesn't matter what he costs. He's putting the ball in the back of the net, and it's more than what we've been able to manage lately. So if we can keep him quiet, I think that sort of really will stifle them a lot. But maybe a scrappy 1-0 win with hopefully Alexis to get back on the score sheet.
And Danny, your prediction for this Sunday.
Oh, I hate playing Everton, although I've been there when we beat them 7-0 or 7-1. I think they've had one defeat in their last 7 games. They're going to be on a high with the Lukaku's massive amount of goals he scored against the mighty Swiss giants of young boys, and that magnificent 2-2 win at home to draw at home to Leicester.
He's scored on more young boys than Jimmy Savile.
My brother's actually met Jimmy Savile and only found this out about a week ago. It's a brilliant story. I would tell you there now, but it's a bit boring. It's a 2:05 kick-off, which winds me up, because means I'm going to have to get out of bed because I missed the entire Palace game. I think I'm going to go 1-0. We're going to learn our lessons after midweek. We're going to play a defensive, solid game, go for the 1-0, the clean sheet, and the goal's going to come from Ozil, who is going to have an outstanding game and get a 9.7.
Sounds good. I'm actually going to go the opposite, because what better way to follow up probably our worst performance of the season than to thrash Everton 4-0 in Sanchez hat trick. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go ahead and throw to shout-outs, and we will start with Dom on this. Dom, you got any shout-outs this week?
Just to the guys that do the Bergie blogs for us, all the boys. I'm sure that we'll be retweeting some of their stuff in the very near future, headed by our very own other Jeff, who's looking quite suave today in his new suit. If anyone saw that on the WhatsApp. Just everybody, thanks for following the Bergie blogs, giving the feedback. I know the boys put a lot of effort into it, so it's always nice to hear that people enjoy that. So get along and follow that and have a read.
Awesome. Kris, your shout out this week.
Yes, no worries. 2 quick ones. One is for a couple, Jordan and Chanel Weeby. I believe their surname is pronounced, fellow Americans.
Weeb. Yes, Weeb.
Okay,
Great people.
Sure they said Weeby when they were on the pod.
It was probably It's probably Weeby. Probably. I'm always wrong.
You would know better than me, trust me, Jace. Either way, Jordan and Chanel, they're a really nice couple. They took a picture that they put on Instagram of them at the game the other night. So I hope they're having a lovely time in London, despite the results. Jordan is at Jordan Weeb, and Chanel is, I've forgotten, it's at Chanel5. My other quick one is to Kelly Mayer, our friend, Canadian Kelly. She's not been feeling very well. She's been a bit under the weather this week, so I thought I'd cheer her up and give her a shout, and she's at Kelly_Mayer.
Awesome. Danny.
Right, my one is going to go to, am I a mute? Good God, I'm not. That's a miracle. It's going to go to the chief blogger, Jeff, Jake, one of our bloggers, Simon, our blogger, Neil, our blogger, and today, other Jeff has managed to get a bit of a coup, and we have got, where is it? I had the window open. Andrew Thompson, who is at AFC BVB1410. He's just agreed to come and join us as one of our resident bloggers, so he might be doing a couple of blogs per month. And people go and follow our Bergie Blogs account, which is run by other Jeff. It's at the Bergie Blogs. If you follow that account, I'll follow you back with a Highbury in. You'll get followed back by a handful of other ones as well. So one follow is going to earn you 5, and we all know following is currency. And well done to everybody who's doing the Bergie Blogs. And poor old Jeff, he's a bit snowed under. He's having a stressful time, bless his socks. But without him, we'd be lost, because it means I'd have to do it, and then it would be a nightmare.
And Jace, your shout-outs this week.
For Mark, at Mark71AFC, he's a good boy, Mark. He's on the Facebook page and on Twitter. He's a good guy, top man. Hates Arsene Wenger at the moment, but he's good fun.
Awesome. I am going to do my shout out to a good friend of mine, just up the road from me in the States. It's Mark J. Fine, at Mark J. Fine. Great guy to talk to on Twitter about Arsenal or anything. He's a great tech guy to talk to as well. He's really savvy with tech. So I think that's going to wrap us up here on this week's edition of Bergkamp Wonderland. Again, thank you guys for allowing me to host, and we hope to get Gimli back next week.
He will be.
And you will not have to listen to my American tones, thank God, because I'm tired of listening to myself now. But yeah, thanks for listening, and goodbye for now.
Nanu, cheeky monkeys. There you go. No one ruined it for me.
Up the Pirates.
15-4. Woof.
Boom. Meow.
Got some good questions coming in. One of them's about if Bayern come in with a 30-35 million for Ozil, should we sell him?
I can see them swapping him for Harvey Martinez.
He's a centre-back, isn't he?
Either that or midfield.
DMCN centre half. I can see that half.
I don't want Martinez. Not interested.
It's not up to you and mate, is it? That's the problem.
No, well, it is. It is. you forget, Jace, that my opinion is correct. Yeah, my opinion is correct. And everyone else that has a differing opinion is wrong. Well, and deluded. And deluded.